Shalom. Kol halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakaha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. All right, the would-be judges, the tabernacle of David, which have been ordained to be the ruling class people on earth, to usher in the kingdom of heaven here on earth, as the Lord's Prayer says, on earth as it is in heaven. They will enforce the laws of heaven upon all mankind, upon all the other 17 nations, under the authority of who the world fraudulently and falsely called JC. His name is Yahweh Shai, and he is going to set up King David over the 12 tribes of Israel yet again and restore them as in the days of old. That's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes, the 144,000. And the rest of the elect Israelites that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations. What do you think you're going to look like when you're scattered among a people that's not yours 10, 15, 20 generations later? Duh, this is not a black only thing. All right. And to the rest, and to the few Akwath, the sisters that are listening and learning, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm, coming at you with another lesson in truth. I'm going to call this one, I was thinking of calling it the accidental lesson, because I actually set out to do a lesson based upon a couple videos that Apostle Ramlab sent me. And in Lord's will, I'll get to those later on today in my second lesson. If not, first thing in the morning tomorrow. But yeah, when I came across this information and when I heard the response of Esau Edom, because they don't take kindly to the truth, they hate the truth. As a matter of fact, they create, pseudoscience and lies to support, their lies, and the truth of the matter is that Edomite lies have fallen apart. This is Job 13:4, and it reads, "But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value." All right, there's no value to their lies; they all fall apart. All right, and one of the things that they did, the main thing that they did to support their New Age lies, to try to substantiate their place in the world, was this: 1 Timothy 6:20. "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called." So they literally created fraudulent scientific theories and things to try to explain away things that does not favor the narrative of Edomite superiority, of so-called white superiority. All right. Columbus, first of all, he wasn't Italian. All right. He wasn't that at all. And he didn't discover America. So let's play this short video and listen to the response of the crowd, of the Edomites in the crowd, and how they respond to this speakers. I'm going to assume this is a professor speaking about the fraud that is American history when it comes to, Columbus.
How you can discover a place where the inhabitants are. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. How you can discover a place where the inhabitants are watching you arrive from the shore. There are actually many other mariners before Columbus that discovered America as well. Decades earlier, even eons earlier, many of these pre-Columbian explorers might have come from Africa. Out that Columbus himself was aware that African mariners had preceded him. In his diary of his second voyage, Columbus tells of how the natives of Hispaniola actually had given him gold-tipped metal spearheads that they said were brought by black-skinned people who had come in large boats from the south and southeast. Coincidence? I think not. No. Christopher Columbus.
You hear that? Conspiracy. some nerdy, nasally, short-limbed in the middle Edomite screamed out conspiracy. They hate the truth. These are facts. Let's go to the scriptures. All right. This is and these are some relics to substantiate it all. Okay. These are relics of the Olmecs that are down where the Incas and the Mayans were. Okay. And this is the look that a lot of the natives of the land had. Now, the truth of the matter is they came from the Levant, which will probably be the name of this video now that I think about it. The Levant is in Asia. That's what it's going to be called. And I'm going to provide undeniable proof that the Levant indeed is in Asia. The Middle East is once again a pseudoscience breakdown to try to control a false narrative that Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, has pushed. All right, there's no difference between the J-ish little hats and the other Edomites, except they're from different tribes from the same forefather. All right. But we're going to talk about Hiram. So we're going to go to 1 Kings. Okay. And you can clearly see. Yeah, let's go to 1 Kings. 5. Yeah, 1 Kings 5. In verse 1 and 2. And it reads, and Hiram, king of Tyre, when the Bible talks about Tyre and Zidon, those are Hamites. Those are Hamites. As a matter of fact, let's provide a receipt to the scripture, which is a receipt in itself in this case. But let's provide a visual before we proceed. So let's go to the evidence folder, go to the bottom. There it is. Okay. And this is from Esau's sources. This is in the Zondervan's Compact Dictionary. It was also in the Young's Bible Dictionary. And it says, Ham, the youngest son of Noah, the progenitor, meaning the father of the dark race, is not the Negroes. See, the Negroes is a different race. But the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. The Canaanites are the people who occupied the Levant, what they call the Middle East today, African nations. And those were the nations that the Israelites, as you see the two men on the bottom, removed from their land. Remember, Canaan was cursed, and the curse was he lost his land, which is Levant. All right. In the Young's Dictionary Bible, the definition goes in that and tells you that Canaan lived in north of Africa in the Levant. All right. They believed that their lands, spread. So the truth of the matter is the Hamites' territory expanded out of Africa and into the Levant. And the Hebrews, which went in among them 70 people and came out millions. So the Hebrews, the wives that they took on, were women from the Levant. Hence the reason why these Hebrews over here that came to America, to Asareth, as according to the Jewish encyclopedias, all right, as you're looking at these images, have, a lot of Israelites have, and Hamites have similar features for that reason. All right. And also in the Young's Dictionary Bible, it tells you that Ham became the progenitor of the multiple Negroid races, which are what? The 12 tribes of Israel, which is why some of the so-called Latinos also have those wide noses, those thick lips, those Negroid features. Okay? Because they do look somewhat like this Olmec, but not as much as This guy. So, and that then it's talking about some Kemet stuff. So Hiram was a servant to King Solomon, all right, who lived in the Levant, which they fraudulently and falsely call the Middle East today. All right, it says, and Hiram, the king of Tyre Zidon, a Hamite, his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father, for Hiram was ever a lover of David, and Solomon sent to Hiram. All right. And it didn't mean no lover as in some alphabet shit either. He served David and loved the king. All right. Thou knowest how David my father could not build a house. Hold on. Unto the name of Yahweh for his God, for the wars which were about him on every side, until Yahweh put him under the soles of his feet. So Hiram was a servant of Solomon. Okay. Now let's jump to 1 Kings 10. All right. You can read the whole chapter of both. All right. I'm just going to read verse 10 and verse 22 just to get straight to the point. I'm sorry, 11. Not verse 10. And it says, and the navy also of Hiram that had brought gold of Ophir. The gold of Ophir came from Asareth. The Jewish scholars point out that the Americas was Asareth. All right, that's in Jewish encyclopedias. Okay, brought it from Ophir, great and plenty almug trees and precious stones. Hence the reason why Christopher Columbus wanted to come to the Americas. Number one, he knew the Israelites were there, and he knew that there were gold of Ophir and the precious stones. Yeah, he was aware of the riches that laid on the other side of the world. He wasn't looking for India. Fact, Cristobal Colon, the true name of Columbus, all right, he had a ish name, all right, Cristobal Colon, came to the Americas with 5 Hebrew interpreters because he knew he was going to encounter a Hebrew-speaking people. All right. These people who had came from the Assyrian captivity out of the Levant, what you call the Middle East. And I'm going to provide that proof. All right. So now we're dealing with these people. Okay. Verse 22. For the king had a navy of Tarshish. With the navy Hiram, once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks, which really meant turkeys. And turkeys are indigenous to the Americas. So that fact alone lets you know that the Africans, the Hamites, the sons of Ham, the other dark race, all right, with dark skin, thick lips, and woolly hair, but really can't grow beards. All right, because if the Hebrews had put this up, it would have had a beard on it. It's really, Hamites really can't grow afros, and they really can't grow beards. That's another way you can distinguish them from so-called Negroes. They don't really grow beards like that, and they're and they really can't grow afros. Hamite's hair doesn't grow like that. Okay. And it's clear to see that his features are similar to this one. Okay. The evidence is within itself. And I happen to like Northern Kingdom women, especially ones who have, these type features. That darker skin with those really thick lips and the wide noses. You know, I particularly that, you know, I'm attracted to that look on women. Okay. But it says, for the king had a navy of Tarshish. With the navy of Hiram, once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. So that you know, that's a fact. Now let's go to Second Ezra, all right, which was mentioned in the movie 1492 by Gerard Godot, who played, that was the capture of paradise or whatever it was called. All right, because I remember they had the 500-year anniversary, and, you know, in 1992 when the movie came out. But this is 2 Ezra 13 and 40. And it reads, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner out of their own lands in the time of Hosea the king, Salmanassar, all right, the king of Assyria, led away captive and carried them over the water, so they came into another land. All right. So they came down out of the Persian Gulf, all right, into the Indian Ocean, and then down around in between Africa and Madagascar, around the Horn of Africa, over into the Americas, just as that guy was saying. That's where they came from. They came from the south and southeast in ginormous ships. That's how they came. That's because they followed the same. The Israelites were aware of Hiram's journeys because Hiram worked for their former king, for their forefather. So they had this knowledge. All right. And what did Esau do? He fast forward to the future. This is one of the reasons they removed the Apocrypha from the Bible, which was always a part of the Bible. Remember, there are 3,500 different sects of Christianity, of Christianism. All right. St. Benji just did a lesson on that yesterday. I highly suggest that you watch it, that you subscribe to his channel and watch it. St. Benji, GMS Chicago. All right, 3,500 different sects of Christianism, which is, and they all have different doctrines and different beliefs. That is not the truth. The truth came into the world with the Hebrew Israelites. This is the gospel that was preached to the four corners of the earth. And now look at the condition of the earth and how close the Lord is close to returning. Now that truth has spread to the four corners of the earth, because they weren't talking about this. Verse 41. Well, let me finish 40. 2 Ezra 13:40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. But they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth further into a further country where never mankind had dwelt. The Jewish scholars have identified that landmass as America and referred to it as Asareth in different Jewish encyclopedias and almanacs. All right. That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land, and enter the Euphrates, all right, by the narrow place. For the Most High then showed them signs and held still the flood, and until they were passed over. So all those flood waters and rough waters that you encounter coming down from the Euphrates into the Arabian Sea, down into the Indian Ocean, and then around the Horn of Africa, those currents. The Lord guided them over here so that they left Asia, the Levant. The Middle East is sitting in Asia, Western Asia. I've proven it 1,000 times over. Okay. For through the country there was a great way, namely to go 1.5 years, and the same region is called Asareth. All right. So and the Jewish rabbis acknowledge that, in, like I said, in many of their encyclopedias and almanacs from the 18th and 19th century. Okay. And there they dwelt until the latter time. Now when they shall begin to come. So we're in the latter times now. The northern kingdom, the of the Israelites, came to the Americas via the Levant, which is Asia. So they did come from Asia. When they tell you that part in that pseudoscience, they're telling you the truth. What they're telling you to lie about is this so-called land bridge. They're trying to control the narrative. All right. They're trying to control the narrative because India, Pakistan, Russia, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, the Himalayas, Turkey, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, I said Turkey already, Armenia, all sit in the Levant, or all sit in what they refer to as the middle. Well, they sit in Asia, but the ones I just said at the end here sit in Western Asia, the portion that they call the Middle East. All right. And Europe is also, okay, in Asia. Okay, so you can include Europe in that. There's no separation between Europe and the Middle East. You can walk right on foot. There's no ocean, no sea. It's all one continent. So that whole Eurasia thing, the whole Europe and Middle East thing, was created to try to uphold the fraudulent false ego of Esau Edom, self-proclaimed white man, and to hide his true origins and who he really is. All right, because his true mountain is home. We did a lesson on that a couple days ago, maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, is Mount Seir. All right. Petra, also referred to according to them as Selah, according to their sources. Petra was also referred to as, before it was called Petra, it was called Selah, according to Esau's sources. All right. So now that we've done that, let's go here. What AI had to say about the Levant. Uh-oh, didn't mean to hit that one. Let's go back. Here it says, because the question was asked, I said, technically, the Levant is in Western Asia. All right. And what AI said, yes, technically, the Levant is a sub-region of Western Asia situated along the Mediterranean Sea. It is a part of the larger region often referred to as the Middle East. The Middle East, why is it referred to as that? Because that was the fraud that they came up with. The term Levant literally means the East, and the historical term of that includes countries like Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, and Jordan, which is where Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, came from, the caves of Mount Seir, also called Selah, according to their sources. The relationship of Western Asia is a broader geographic term that includes the Levant, along with areas like Anatolia, Mesopotamia, the Arabian Peninsula, parts of the South Caucasus. All right. So here they go with that. No, the mountains that they came from was Mount Seir. All right. They're trying to make, and then they created that whole European thing. So Esau Edom is a liar and has been found out. Okay. So let me grab one more scripture and wrap this thing up. Because there was no land bridge. If millions of people didn't come across some frozen wasteland, all right, and then 53 miles may as well be, I think that's what they said it is about, a stretch of 53 miles in frozen ice and sub 0 to 140 below zero, 150 below zero, no food, no animals, no. How did the old, the sick, the young, the babies, the pregnant, what did they eat? What did they hunt? There would be bones and bodies everywhere. Never found any because it never happened. It was a theory, all right, a fraudulent theory that they made up to try to substantiate their lie, okay? Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, is a liar, all right? They are liars. Their whole existence is based upon lies, Okay? They didn't discover America. They don't belong. They don't really, the only place that they really belong, all right, is in Mount Seir.
Did not discover America. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Christopher Columbus did not discover America.
They hate the truth.
Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. How you can discover a place where the inhabitants are watching you arrive from the shore. There are actually many other mariners before Columbus that discovered America as well. Decades earlier, even eons earlier, many of these pre-Columbian explorers might have come from Africa. Out that Columbus himself was aware that African mariners had preceded him. In his diary of his second voyage, Columbus tells of how the natives of Hispaniola actually had given him gold-tipped metal spearheads that they said were brought by black-skinned people who had come in large boats from the south and southeast. Coincidence? I think not. No. Christopher...
That pussy. His pussy was hurting. Conspiracy. Okay. This is 2 Ezra 6 and 27. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And the truth hurts Esau Edom so badly because AI has confirmed what I've been saying for years now. All right. That there's no such thing as the Middle East. That's a term that they made up. The Middle East and Europe rest in the landmass that Asia, which is spoken of in the Bible. You don't hear the Middle East mentioned in the Bible. Neither do you hear the Middle East or Europe mentioned in the Bible. Okay? You do hear Asia. And the Middle East and Europe sits in Asia. So with that, I want to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rikaha Kwadash, Kwam Yasarala, Abad Babal.